Bleisure is a new word. Have you heard about bleisure already? Bleisure or bliscation? Biscation, excuse me. Well, it's a new word for
1 o'clock.
also um, a type of travel that's been done all the time. If people go to conferences, very often they do a short
Yeah.
pre-trip or a
Yeah.
post-trip. And
Business.
they now call it biscation or bleisure, it's like
Yeah.
leisure with a B in. It's a little bit hyped as a millennium trend, but I think it's of all years. It's always been there, and that's part of where you also have big conferences where people join and they go together. The artificial intelligence is one of the most important things for restarting tourism and recover ourselves also as tourism. Whether we like it or not, I'm more in the not so much like camp because I'm not a very digital person. But the most important thing I find in all the readings that we do and studies about this is that professional machine learning and keeping the digital skills gap as small as possible is the most important to be able to survive. The customer experience, we always say the tour guide makes or breaks your tour, but in the World Tourism Organization, they say customer experience will make or break the tour. So I think this is very, very important. And then another thing that will be very important is healthy food and culinary experiences. And this is another part of concern because if you are, for example, let's say in India and you're at the countryside, you are at a homestay, how do they know? How are they trained about all the new rules for COVID, post COVID? That is one of the main concerns. So restarting tourism is definitely has a lot to do with the way we were catapulted in the digital age at the moment. And then making sure that the big cities, they're mostly okay, but making sure that everybody in the country also can deliver on the promise of COVID. So the World Travel Tourism Council is making a global safety stamp, and it's all for tour operators, for big organizations such as airlines, hotels, restaurants, and there's nothing for the guides. There is nothing for the local small businesses, but everything in big lines. So that is where I think that also East Guides West is the one of the best suited to train and to consult, because Barnaby is going to talk about how we are going to train, but there is an obligation in the World Travel and Tourism Council that all tour operators should train all their staff. And this is one of the most important things that we know is not happening. It didn't happen when we were earning lots of money, and probably it will not happen just because people think it's too expensive. Because very often we hear from the tour guides that they want training, and we know they want training. The tour operator is going to be obliged to train all their staff. And our experience with the tour guides, when we ask, we wrote this during COVID, we wrote our training in e-courses, and they are really longing to learn more. They're really willing to go back to work, but there is a big part of people that is going to quit. First of all, because they need to eat now too, and they may not come back. Others are, and that's something that we hear also very often, others are really not wanting to guide with a mouth mask, with all the gloves, with all the safety regulations. They don't feel like they're free again to express themselves, to show their emotions. So very many guides want to be trained because they are not well insured. And if now something happened and somebody gets sick on their tour, liability is going to be a very huge issue. and tour guides are not included in social security programs. So that's why we think we really can help.